the U.S. struggles to get Americans vaccinated against COVID-19, some health officials are debating the idea of cutting Moderna's vaccine doses in half. All this in order to help speed up the rollout. Joining me now is our chief health editor, Dr. Nandi. So, Dr. Nandi, the idea to cut the vaccine doses would only apply to a specific age group. What can you tell us about this?
Yes, Alan. The suggested group that they're talking about are people that are between age 18 and 55. Now, this idea of cutting the doses actually was mentioned by the scientific advisor for Operation Warp Speed, Mr. Moncaf Slaoui, and he pointed to data from Moderna's clinical trial, Alan, that suggested that this could be possible. And I understand why this is being suggested, right? It's frustrating for all of us that only 4.8 million Americans have received their first COVID-19 vaccine dose. I'm one of them. So we're behind the eight ball right now. So that's why some officials want to cut Moderna's doses to help double the number of people to get vaccinated. But here's the thing, roughly 14 million doses of both Moderna and Pfizer's vaccines have already been shipped. So our problem is really more of a logistical issue with getting the vaccine quickly distributed and into the American arms.
You know, Doc, we've been told that you need both doses to have the full efficacy of the vaccine. Now, if half doses of Moderna's vaccine are approved, will it still provide the 94% protective rate against COVID-19?
That's a great point, Alan, and to me, that's a huge concern, right? We know that the clinical trials show that Moderna works really well, very highly effective. It's 2 doses, each 100 micrograms, spaced 4 weeks apart. And what happens to the 94% efficacy rate if those doses are split in half? Well, as I mentioned before, there's some evidence that suggests that cutting the doses might actually be nearly as effective as a full dose for people who are between 18 and 55. But here's the problem. The data is based on a small subset of people in a very early trial. So there's not a lot of substantial data to support cutting the doses in half. And which is why the FDA has said that it would be premature to change the approved dosing regimens because it would be, and I quote, rooted solidly in the available evidence.
You know,
It
Doc,
it would not be rooted in the available evidence.
Right. You know, and as I just mentioned, Doc, both Moderna and Pfizer's vaccine require 2 shots, which makes it more complicated. Obviously, a one-shot vaccine would be much simpler, like Johnson & Johnson's vaccine candidate. What can you tell us about their update on their ongoing trial?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, right? A single-dose vaccine would be much simpler. But here's the thing with Johnson & Johnson. They have their 1-dose vaccine regimen in a trial right now. And they're also studying a 2-dose regimen. And they're going to do that to see if a second dose could be longer, give a higher protection rate. And we haven't heard how well Johnson & Johnson's single-dose vaccine is, and that's because they've recently finished enrolling about 45,000 folks into their phase 3 trial. So I expect we'll get the results towards the end of February, and if all goes well, they could apply for emergency use authorization shortly after that. The more the merrier, but I would love if there's a 1-dose vaccine because it makes it easier for all of us to be able to get protected.
And it just sounds a lot easier too, Dr. Nandi. Hey, thank you so much. It's always great to see you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And remember, folks, if you have a coronavirus question for the doctor, you can email him, Dr. Nandi at askdrnandi.com, or be sure to send it to us on Facebook or Twitter. Glenda?